Welcome in, everybody, to our American Literature survey course. I am Dr. Aaron Hummus, and I wanted to do a couple of videos on the front end of our course just to clarify syllabus. We obviously won't be seeing each other this semester, but I thought it might be useful to draw your attention to a few things for this asynchronous course. So this is the syllabus that is available to you on our Blackboard site. We will do all of our work together via Blackboard, and all assignments will be emailed to me. So most of our correspondence will just be via email throughout the semester. Our course together is kind of insane in its scope. We cover from the end of the Civil War to today. As I say in the description here, 160 years of American literature in a 12-week course is wild. And so it required me to, of course, make some editorial decisions with what we read. We are a little bit unbalanced towards earlier material that I think that you'd be less likely to be exposed to elsewhere. And I imagine some of you, if not many, are English majors or other humanities majors where being able to make these references might be useful to you later in your academic careers. So the materials of this class are by and large available through links on this syllabus. So a lot of this material is old enough where it's pretty publicly accessible. So there are links in the syllabus. I have 2 volumes of Norton American Literature editions on our Blackboard site. And so I've indicated where things are to be found there. And then a few uploaded documents you'll notice on our Blackboard right where the syllabus is under content. So I've checked all these recently, but as I say, please let me know if anything's not working. The course policies are pretty straightforward. I must have all assignments as attached doc or PDF files. They cannot be in the body of emails. They cannot be links or shares from Google Docs or online publishing, so word processing. So if you're using those programs, download the document to your device and attach it to me. Everything else here I think is pretty self-explanatory. This is all departmental and college material that I have to have on the syllabus, so have a look over that, including things like withdrawal policies and incompletes, which I do not offer. The plagiarism stuff is a little bit twisty, but I've highlighted for you the important thing specific to our class together. So you can read through this statement on your own, but there will not be any AI usage permitted of any variety. So that includes the use of Grammarly and corrective software, mostly because those things also trigger my AI detectors, and I don't want to have to figure out which you're using, so don't use them. This is not, strictly speaking, a writing class, and there's writing in it. But it's not a composition class where I am teaching you to write explicitly. The goal is to gain an understanding of American literature, make some arguments about it, and draw comparisons, really to become better readers. And then there's, writing as well. Point being, I'm not taking off points for little grammatical mistakes or stylistic errors. I'll draw your attention to them when necessary, but there's just no point in using this stuff, and it generally results in bad writing anyway. So that's that. The rest of this, now we're on to the assignments. So the major assignments of this course, as you'll see, fall into a few categories. The commonplace book, which I'll talk a little bit more in a moment, is half of your grade. So this is something you'll be doing throughout the course, building this commonplace book. There are moments for me to check in on it, mostly just to make sure that the format makes sense and is working for you. But it's pretty much something that you'll be running on your own. It would be physically possible to do the entire commonplace book in the last week of class. I think that would be a miserable task and probably result in worse work. So this is something to keep up with throughout. I have a series of these short redefinitions essays. I'll talk more about that in a moment. And then one midterm essay that is worth a fifth of your grade. There isn't really space for participation and additional interaction. I don't find the Blackboard tools to be very useful for that, and I don't think people like it. So I've kind of stopped using them. So these are our three components of our grade. The midterm essay is pretty self-explanatory. I'll probably offer a little more detail when we get closer to that via an announcement. The redefinitions, again, are here and there throughout. So I encourage you to read over this. Your goal here is a creative one, which is to name a new genre, because we're going to be reading these works according to genre. I'll talk more about that shortly. Making citations, and then justifying a new definition. So a new term for what these things have in common. So for example, our first 2 weeks are on realism, which is a pretty bland term for a massive amount of literature. And I offer you some sources on realism. We're going to use these public archives at WSU because I think they're very good and brief definitions. And so you'll come up with another way to describe what Bierce and Perkins Gilman and Dunbar and Twain and O. Henry have in common. Everything we read, not everything, the vast majority of what we read in this class will be short stories, which I've chosen because most of these writers wrote them, perhaps in addition to novels and poems and other things. And it allows us to see a complete work or multiple complete works. So I find that to be a good medium. It's not the only way we could have done this. Mark Twain is almost certainly more famous as a novelist, for instance, than a writer of short stories. But that's what we're doing. And so you will use these short works of fiction to think about realism and what's another term I could use for realism. I'll probably offer you all some examples after we get through the first one so we can see how our fellow classmates are thinking about the redefinitions task. But the first of those you see is due March 1, so a couple of weeks away. Okay, now the commonplace book is the thing that we'll be doing throughout this semester right from the jump. So let me go through this with you a little bit and make sure it makes sense. As you complete each reading in this class, you will look out for particularly emblematic or unusual citations. What I mean by that is just something that sticks out to you, something that you think is interesting, is consistent in the work, and tells us something about the work. So I'm asking you to cite the quote directly, tell me how it's significant within the story, and then tell me about it, the relationship to that week's theme. So I pick a line and I explicate it a little bit, essentially. So I give you some prompts for that here. These do not need to be extensive entries. Yeah, they should be a paragraph basically, and no more. So I wanted to show you a famous example of something like a commonplace book. You can easily find further sources online, but the way that I want you to do this is kind of particular. So let me take you over to Walter Benjamin's Arcades project. So Benjamin was writing in the early part of the 20th century. He is a German, not American. But this Arcades project is a massive kind of commonplace book. And so what you see here is a chapter about the arcades in Paris, a couple of little epigraphs, and then Benjamin starts offering quotations, right? So here's one from Illustrated Guide to Paris. In speaking of the inner boulevards, we have made mention again and again of the arcades which open onto them, etc., etc. And then down here, you get a very brief Benjamin description of why that was important to him. So this book is built of citations like that. He puts his explanations at the ends and beginnings of chapters. You will do it throughout. But you're building this big document kind of in place of a concluding final paper. So look for examples of commonplace books if you're worried about it, but there is no one precise format that I necessarily need to use with you all. I want you to begin to build this and see what's working for you as a kind of note-taking practice. And then for the final, as I say, we'll do a brief conclusion, which essentially will be what we think American literature is. So those are our assignments during the class. We will have the redefinitions, not quite weekly. We'll have the commonplace book throughout, and then one midterm kind of check-in essay. But even that's not that long. It's just a few pages. So no one thing is that long. Now, our week one together, I'm recording this on Sunday, February 15th. Maybe you're watching it today as well. Begins tomorrow, February 16th. And we're reading a couple of critical pieces to start that come around the middle of our time period. So Susan Sontag's Against Interpretation and James Baldwin's creative process of the artist. I am going to post another video shortly doing a reading of those. So please do not watch that video until you have done the reading. I mean, I'm not going to police that, but I would highly recommend you lay eyes on it first, just to form your own opinions. Those will not go in the commonplace book. You do not need to enter the Sontag and the Baldwin in the commonplace book. They're not fiction, and they're useful for reasons I'll get into later, but the commonplace book will begin with Bierce and Charlotte Perkins Gilman and go from there. So these two very short critical pieces I want to give you some guidance on. The fiction, I do not feel like I'll need to do that. Maybe I'll change my mind, but they're brief also and really important works that I think you'll be able to get plenty from on your own. And then as we proceed there, week two has a bunch of short stuff again and your first redefinitions essay. So as I say, I'll likely do an announcement with a little more detail there. But once you get the first one of those in and you get comments back from me, get feedback, you'll kind of know where you're at and how to improve for the next one. So go ahead and have a look over the rest of the things. Again, I've noted above, if there are single asterisks, it is in Norton Anthology C on the Blackboard. If there's a double asterisk, it's in Norton Anthology D. Those are in PDFs. You can look at them through the Blackboard site. I don't think there's much else schedule-wise that's unique. I have a little bonus extra credit assignment during spring break. I don't usually give extra credit. I think it's kind of silly. But in this case, if you have the time or the desire to do it, I wanted to offer that to you. And then our midterm essay UC falls April 5th, so pretty much halfway through. I've got one commonplace book check-in April 12th. Not going to be very hard on you about that. I just want to see how it's going. And certainly you're welcome to share that with me sooner if we need to talk about it sooner. And then the final, we wrap up May 17th. So a few months from now. In any case, I look forward to working with you all. My PhD is in English. But in full disclosure, I never took an American Literature Survey course in any of my studies. I have studied American literature in many classes, but I never was in a position to take a survey class on American or British literature in my undergraduate or graduate studies. So I'm excited to bring all this stuff together with you all and come to some conclusions about how the pieces fit together. So I hope that you are as excited as I am to get to read some fiction and write about it in a little bit more free-form manner. And I am here for you. My email is at the top of the syllabus. So please contact me that way and only that way, if and as you need to. Nice to meet you all. Happy reading. Look for my second video on the Sontag and the Baldwin shortly.